Hi everyone. I'm just going to be starting up a new series here, and this will likely get published a lot later than the game is actually running. This isn't going to be anywhere close to live like my last recording was. This is the sequel to the Corona Rex game where I was playing Asphodel. It turns out, despite my spectacular loss in that game, I got enough tournament points or however it was scored to qualify for the finals. So this is all like a small hosted tournament on the Dominion's Nexus Discord channel. So I'm looking forward to it. It's played in the early age, which I don't usually play in early age. I only really play middle age. Um, I've only had a few games in the early age, and as such, I'm going to try a new nation and a new build to me. Um, so this nation and build is coming entirely from an extremely good Dominions player who won Lucid's tournament last year. Uh, and I will put a link to his guide to EA Abysia in the notes here because it is basically exactly what I'm going to do because I don't have my own thoughts on this nation. Um, so the build is as follows. It's an Awake Great Sage. This is turn 2 of the game, so this guy's up and researching. Um, it's a Great Sage for the Adept Researcher and the Research bonus. As you can tell from the Heavy Bless and the Awake Pretender, I have bad scales. So this guy is my research engine. The research engine is going to generate construction 6. So that's why Great Sage, that's why he's awake. From left to right here, we have Air 4. Air 4 is for shock resistance. Abysia doesn't have great path diversity, and like shock resistance is a hard resistance to get at the best of times. You need ground things like ground army in with high earth paths and other such spells like giving elemental resist. They're fairly far away, and there are nations in this game that I'm going to be playing against who can generate shock damage. So that's the shock resistance. The with from the air paths. The earth paths are for boosters. 2 earth is enough to get um, a bloodstone. It's enough to get earth boots. With those items is enough to get a hammer. With those items combined with the air path is enough to get a staff of elemental mastery. Um, and it's enough to summon the diversity summons later in the game. So Troll Kings can come from this. Um, the Astral Paths are the first paths that I really just take for the Bless itself, although Astral 5 is enough to climb up through Astral later. I don't really anticipate doing that this game, but it's nice to have the option. Astral 5 gets me magic weapons and +1 magic resistance. Again, +1 magic resistance. I'm going to be from these paths. I'm going heavily into my sacreds. My sacreds need to live. We're going to be playing against Marverni. We're going to be playing against Saromacia. Maybe I better just take a quick glance at the game list and see if I'm playing against Saromacia. I usually just assume I'm playing against Saromacia. I'm not playing against Saromacia. Marverni is going to be generating magic resistance negate stuff. Same with Agartha. Femoria might. Kilasa will. It's just very helpful with my sacreds. Death 3 is for 2 reasons. You could just take Death 1, would get you a Revenance, which you could then later empower, get a Skull Staff, and slowly climb Death that way. Death 3 gets the skips you right into Skull Staffs. I will still be getting a Revenant to Sight Search later, and this can get vampires later. This is going to uh, allow me to do some of the bigger blood summons if I need, you know, liches or wraith kings. Like I can empower to get those wraith lords. Sorry. And this gets a key part of this bless. Am I going to see it here? Yes. Disease resistant 80. I am half dead. It doesn't even show up here. I definitely am half dead. Well, let me just look at some of these other guys. Yeah, disease resistant 80. Um, Statistics, Pretenders of the World, if I load up Abysia, um, and load up, say, this guy. My mages are old, these anathema dragons. So I'm playing in drain scales. I haven't mentioned that, which means these guys are researching for 10, and they're old, so they're going to die of disease and old age. But with half dead, they get the disease resistance like they're undead. They also have less supply problems, and I don't even know where that's gonna. Yeah, need not eat. So when I finally get let's go to my army setup. When I finally get a crap ton of burning ones, much later in the game, these guys are not going to be consuming supply, whereas normally they do consume supply. I think, yeah, where does supply manifest itself? Strengths? Nope. Encumbrance, fatigue. I have no idea. Well, I should be able to see it here. Nope, maybe not. Sadly, I don't know enough about this game. It's going to be one of these weird ones. It's going to have supply on it. Or it's just not going to tell me what their supply is. It's going to be just based on their size then. And because the burning ones are size 3, they're going to consume a lot of supply, um, which is going to be unpleasant. Supply usage minus 40, nice. Back to the build. So half dead gets disease resistant, which means my core mage, which is these anathema dragons, my recruit anywhere, holy twos, no randoms, but like 3 fire, 1 earth. These guys are actually going to live. And potentially, uh, maybe my these anointed of rocks guys, which I think I'm only going to get for site searching. He might live a little longer, even though he's not old. And then if I ever need to save like a warlock or like a essential commander, I can just toss a shroud, make him a sacred, and potentially resist the disease that way. Um, yeah, back to the build. So the real key to the build that I'll put the link for here is bark skin. Bark skin is good on burning ones. There's really like if you take bark skin as a base bless, like there's a whole family of things that you could do with these guys. Um, like bark skin is key for upping the protection, especially in the early era where people aren't doing too much damage. Um, the burning ones have a base natural protection of 0, uh, which along with excellent armor. So by giving them bark skin, they actually benefit hugely. Bark skin is best used for units that don't have any inherent protection, and it also like isn't negated by magic weapons, which is super nice. It's going to make these guys really effective for expansion, which we'll have to wait until the game actually gets rolling. It's only turn 2 right now, but we'll watch expansion, and it should be good as long as I don't screw things up too badly. Um, I don't really plan to use the big nature paths. This is enough to get a Thistle Mace, but Thistle Maces aren't hard. There will be indie nature mages, which will allow me to site search for nature, which will allow me to cast the nature spells. There's lots of nature spells I would cast. Well, I mean, I have Bark Skin on the Bless, so I'm not casting Mass Protection. But there's lots of other good nature battlefield spells that I can cast with things like lizards, and there should be a lizard province around me somewhere that will break me into nature. But honestly, I will take it, even not lizards. I'm gonna take because nature is good for me. Let's see what else. And oh yeah, last but not least, blood 5. There's a lot of blood. Um, I don't really need this much blood on this nation because like we have blood mages. They're cap only. Um, let's not look at this guy. Let's look at this guy. Like I can potentially get a blood 3. Uh, this guy is just blood 1, yeah. So blood 2, and I can get sanguine dosing rods. I can use these guys to blood hunt, but it's not going to scale like Zabalba would, Baratos, um, any of the other blood nations that actually have recruit anywhere blood mages, because I am just limited to my cap. It's going to be slow. The key thing with the blood 5 though is blood bond. Let's go back to the actual bless. Um, yeah, blood bond combined with the bark skin is going to make these guys ferocious. Let's have a look. Burning ones. The blood bond in the bark skin uh, will make these guys pretty resistant. Let's say they get hit and the blood bond triggers. Anyone within range of the blood bond hit is going to receive some damage. These guys berserk. They're berserker 3. Berserk, when it's triggered, adds back on to natural protection. So I'm going to go from 10 to 13. And like we're not even talking about like Army of Gold, Army of Lead in the late game, which is going to be like the key game-winning research. Like if I can get there, that's my timing for a win. If I don't somehow like win earlier due to attrition, not that I think I'm going to win this game. There's some excellent players here. Um, but Legions of Steel is definitely a buff that these guys can take. They've got 2 pieces of armor, so I can get just an extra 3 protection there. 3 protection there, 3 protection from the Berserker, and then potential like late game Iron Skins, giving them natural 20 protection. These guys are going to be tanky folks, with their only real weakness being their magic resistance, which isn't terrible, but just isn't that great. And I only have magic resistance 1 because it's so expensive to get magic resistance on these guys. Um, I would have loved to not have magic weapons, but it's Abysia. They don't really have another source of magic weapons. So I felt that I had to take that really. Um, yeah, so what's the game plan? The game plan research wise is construction 6, then alteration. Construction 6 is one thing. It's lightless lanterns. I don't really anticipate with this heavy bless using magic, you know, maybe till year 2 even. Like that's very late, but that gets me construction 6 quite comfortably. And then I get lightless lanterns, and then I can deal with my scales. So the scales are turmoil, but production 3, and this was a mistake. I should have taken production 2. Um, because I don't actually need production 3. I've got 5 Dominion, so I can get 5 Sacreds per turn, potentially upping that to 6 if I get enough temples. Heat 3. Heat 3 is native to Abysia, and you really shouldn't mess with that. This is tempting because this represents 120 design points, um, but statistics, pretenders of the world. Um, there's no like reason that I wouldn't want to take Heat 3 here. Like I'm not helping my opponents. I don't think anyway. What is it? There is a Sarmatia. The guy lied to me. Oh, freaking Cactus L. Okay. The I see. I see how it is. Okay. So there is a Sarmatia. Another reason to have magic resistance. Um, if I had not gone production 3 and production 2, I would take another point in luck. And I would have taken another point in luck again had I not got the half-dead bless, had I gone death 1 instead of death 2. So there's 2 of my scales there that have disappeared. That's 80 design points potentially. The drain 3 means lightless lanterns have to go there. Um, it's also a free point of magic resistance when I start playing defensively. Um, I should be able to keep my Dominion up, even though I'm only a Dom. Uh, I'm only Dom 5 because of these Anathema Dragons are priest level 2s. I put them on temples. They can hold the Dominion up to 4. Um, and I'm going to rely on that really for keeping my Dominion because 5 Dominion is, again, very low. I'm cutting corners here. Yeah, Drain 3, free magic resistance. Again, I could have taken Drain 2. Um, Potentially if I had saved some of these other scales and still gotten the free magic resistance, but that's fine. I gotta play like that. Yeah, so the only thing I can talk about from here on in is really I'd like to go through the magic, and I'm mostly doing this for myself. I mean, selfishly, I'm doing these videos for myself as well. I want to kind of test my initial conceptions of this nation with how the game progresses. So going construction 6 for lightless lanterns, going alteration for the big earth buffs, the army of lead, army of gold, which I have all the boosters lined up for. I'm going to have earth boots. I'm going to have bloodstones. Um, then that combined with one earth mage lets me get up to Earth 3, Earth Power, Earth 4, an extra gem, which you have from the Bloodstone anyway. And then these things are only going to cost, well, I'm going to be dumping 4 gems into each of them. But I can only spend 4 gems because I'll be your Earth 4. And that's the way those rules go. So that's big picture. Smaller picture, I don't actually have preconceived ideas, unfortunately. Looking at the units, these things are 20 gold. Uh, and I don't have scales, so I'm going to be poor. So I'm not going to buy these. Well, I might get misbred just because I can. Um, no, there's no reason to have these guys. Maybe if there's something big that's hard to kill. No, I think I'm going to stick with burning ones almost exclusively. Burning ones, they're size 3. We've talked about their high protection, okay magic resistance. They're 1 to a square, even though they're size 3. They're bad formation fighter. Like you could put larger on this for free, but like bark skin is just so good. Um, Resources expensive, that's why the scales are the way they are. The attack skill is 12, and the defense skill is 3. Defense is non-existent basically, which means the protection is what matters, and that's almost a good thing because harassment isn't something I'm going to sweat about with these things being low density. The Morning Stars are +2 attack versus a shield, half blunt, half pierce. So like 50% of the time blunt, 50% of the time pierce. So armor piercing damage, 22 damage, getting boosted up when the berserk goes by 3. Like these guys hit hard. They have 2 attacks. They're not repelling. They have no defense. Um, but yeah, like they would struggle against defense thugs, I think. But with the attack density, sorry, I shouldn't say they have both high and low attack density, but they have 2 attacks per unit. So if they are up against defense thugs, they could potentially harass them down. They're slow, and their map move is slow. This means I'm going to be using stuff like Gateway later. Um, yeah, that's all I know. I need to use Anathema Salamanders or Anathema Dragons to lead them. I'm going to be leaning towards Anathema Dragons because I have Drain Scales. With Drain Scales, you don't want to go low path mages typically. I'm going to avoid the 1 path mages. Research 7 minus 3 is 4 research per turn. So that's almost half research Whereas these things, that's just a 30% drop in research. Well, maybe not a 30% drop, but around that. Um, Once I have resources, I'm going to be recruiting warlocks exclusively from the cap, and I'll be recruiting anathemate dragons exclusively from outside the cap. They're slow to recruit, but I should have forts, which will allow me to have the 4 turns to recruit them. Anointing of rocks, these guys are just going to be for site searching. I have no need for this. I'm not even going to fish for randoms here. I can site search for fire 4. Honestly, that's not necessary. I'm not looking for a fire 4 site. Fire 3, earth 1 is all the sites I expect to find. There may be a utility for this later in the game, but this is 4 recruitment points. That's 2 cap turns. It's a sacred mage, which means you're cutting into my burning 1 production. I can get up to 5 burning 1s because I have 5 holy points available in my cap, and I don't want to sacrifice that basically outside of the initial expansion phase. Yeah, so if I'm not recruiting troops and I'm just recruiting mages, that's great for offense. Defense has to be province defense on my own forts. So Abysia has this weird mechanic where uh, their forts are ridiculous province defense, like absolutely ridiculous. They get their native troops like with the flails, huge damage battle axes. The flails are again with the +2 attack versus shield, 2 attacks because they're flails. Oh yeah, do these things have 2 attacks because they're morning stars? No, they don't. Yeah, it's just flails. So like with this province defense, I actually want to back it up with mages, and I need to think about how to do that. Because it's cheaper for me to get these units, like these are 20 gold a pop. So let's say like I got, 5 of them, that's 100 gold. It's better for me to buy that with province defense than it is for me to recruit the units. Um, and I'll just move around my sacred units as kind of like death squad. Oh God, now for the shitty part. I want to go through the research and think about what I can do with my paths. Construction, dead simple. Construction 3 is potentially Legions of Steel with 2 gems. I have Earth 1, which means I would need Conjuration 3 with a gem. That's Fatigue 20. This gets an Earth Path bonus. Then here's Legions of Steel, Area of Effect 25, +3 protection, just flat on my Sacreds. They become even more invulnerable. Remember, I'm in the early age. There's not that many units that hit hard in the early age. Again, yeah, there isn't even like a Hinnom. There's a Femoria. I can be scared about that. Ubar can be scared about that. They have units that hit fairly hard, but yeah, Russ has bears, but I don't even think bears are going to be too much of a problem for this build. Weapons of sharpness is kind of a thing, but I already do pierce damage. This would just guarantee it, I would imagine. I don't think I'll be casting that, although it would help a touch. Yeah, none of the rituals here really appeal to me. The other path that I know I'm going down is alteration. Let's think about the paths that I will have, starting with fire. I'm going to be saving my fire gems for lanterns, by and large. I do have this hellscape thing. So this gives me heat scales, and my units have firepower. Population -10 will upset someone, that's fine. For 10 gems, I can flip the heat scale. Really, that's what that does. I don't think I would use this to cause unrest. I don't think I would use it for the death scales or the population. I think Thaumaturgy has Raging Hearts. Yeah, this I would use. Pop -5, unrest +60. Report as a random event. If I was trying to shut down, let's say, Vanheim's capital in the game, the famous Gaslov is in this game. If I want to shut him down, that's this spell. Although I'm sure he will have many domes set up on his cap because he plays his nation a lot. Um, yeah, let's go back here. Phoenix Pyre potentially I could use on my high value mages just to keep them around if there's something that's killing them. Again, I'm not imagining my mages doing that much. Solar Eclipse is hard for me to cast, but maybe I could empower to get a darkness equivalent on the field. That would be neat. Do I have an option of that? Nope. Maybe a 2.5% chance uh, of a unit that I don't plan on recruiting ever. Um, that's a possibility. Transmute, yeah, sure, it's possible. I could flip the fire gems into gold once I've got all the lanterns I need. Um, honestly, I don't see that. This is something that's going to be a thing. Warriors of Muspelheim, because my troops don't have any cold resistance. Um, so like Frozen Heart spam could actually be a real problem once the enemy reaches like Alt 6. That's such a niche way to play. I don't see it coming up. In terms of spells for the offensive though, um, Immolation is just an area of effect around the mage, so that's not going to get cast. Combustion is one person burning. Don't really see that being any more useful than my than the heat auras I have on my troops. Incinerate is something that's reasonable. This is armor negating magic damage. Um, range 30. Useful for taking out. Oh, and 100 precision. Yeah, this is something that could be quite useful later. Like a province defense dump backed up by incinerate means that you can't just send a thug that kills PD, and um, there it is affected by fire resistance and is magic damage. But that would require a fair bit of fire resistance to negate. And I would imagine most folks are taking 10 fire resistance on their bless. Maybe 15. I don't. Yeah, maybe they're gonna take 15. But like I would imagine 5 and 10 is much more likely. 5 is what you really need to negate the heat aura, so every player is going to have 5. 10 negates the upper end of the heat aura. It helps with some spells. So I could see that possibly as well. I don't think 15, so I think Incinerate is actually going to be a useful spell for me. Earth is the other thing I'm going to be getting. Earth is for a few things. It's the Army of Gold, Army of Lead. Uh, this turns my guys basically into immortal from physical damage because they have 18 prot already. They're pretty friggin' tough. There's also Marble Warriors farther down. This is 5 better than Barkskin, which is in the Bless. There's Ground Army. That's super useful. Like, there's a lot in Earth that's essential, and that's why the Pretender is built to make Earth boosters. Yeah, once you get into these army buffing spells. Heck, I could even cast spot buff Iron Warriors, although it would cost gems. I'm not really, this isn't really that appealing. Maws of the Earth is a great spell for those high defense troops that I'm going to struggle to hit. Shatter might be useful. Yeah, there are things here. Those are the two paths I have, really. I could say Blood as well. There is Astral, but I don't have enough Astral mages to to really cast these things. Like I'm going to have Astral 1. That's really for battle magic. It's not for alteration. In nature, there's nothing really here. Army of Giants is something I would consider. If I could buff um, my burning ones by a size, they don't care about the decreased defense. They love the increased hit points, and they love the increased strength. That's good for the burning ones. I'm not going to be casting things like Creeping Doom or Mass Protection. Mass Protection is based into my Bless. Creeping Doom just doesn't seem useful, especially when Army of Giants is right there. Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to cast Moss Body as much as that would be really cool. Wooden Warriors is redundant. Um, yeah, so that's Alteration that I think I'll be using. Let's look at Blood. Um, I do have the Infernal Breeding spell. I'm not going to be casting this. This is like crossbreeding, but produces Abysia specific Hell Spawn, Foul Spawn. Not really something I'm going for. Um, yeah, because we're not really going to be a crazy blood nation. Like we're not binding devils or frost fiends. Like my units aren't coming from blood. Um, items could come from blood. Um, as we get higher up blood, there's things that are useful. We do have blood astral is a thing. Let's see. Bloodlust is demons only, which doesn't affect us. But like higher up blood is something that would affect us. Rush of strength, +4 strength on our units. Would be amazing. Stack that with Army of Giants, like we're crushing blows. We have magic weapons. The only thing that would really help the opponent is luck. Um, there are the blood. Well, there's the usual blood summons. We can get into those. Like we have the paths on our pretender to break into vampires. Um, we didn't take fire on a pretender. That's a discussion for another day. Um, yeah, the dome we could take, but that's a fairly expensive and high up dome to be able to cast. Ice devils would be a cool diversity summon if we could empower in water. Um, sending whores is a thing we could do. Yeah, horror seed. And then I think, yeah, we could cast doom. And yeah, there's some things here. I think I would have this mostly for diversity. At the top end, having Rush of Strength is really like I mean it's an amazing spell, um, but it's level 8, so it's not going to help me transition at all. So I might save this path for later. I could use it for, well, it'll have to be self-sufficient. Like I think I might use Infernal Breeding. Oh no, that's not efficient either. I'm going to need patrollers to go along with making my own little blood economy. Um, but yeah, I could see that being useful for items more than anything else. Let's look at enchantment, conjuration, because I know I need to go conjuration 3, earth power, phoenix power. Um, fire elementals is an option on level 5. Let's look at this. Fire elementals could be quite good, full-size fire elementals. Living fire is another thing that's easy for us to cast a ton of. King of Elemental Fire is a thing we can grab, though we don't need it. Same thing with the Flame Spirit. We can grab it, we don't need it. Kindly Ones, I'm not going to cast that. For Earth, there's Troll King's Court at 6, which gets us the Earth paths we need to cast the level 9 Alteration Earth spells. That is how we're going there. A Troll King with Earth Boots can get us there, or we can use our own mages with Earth Boots and a Bloodstone. Um, yeah, that's Conjuration. Let's look at Evocation. I wouldn't really use Earth in Evocation. There are Magma Bolts, those are good, but the reason I wouldn't use Magma Bolts specifically is because they are Earth first, not Fire first. Same thing with Magma Eruption. That means the scaling for the area of effect and the damage, and I think Magma Bolts might get an extra target. No, they get 3. Like, these are great spells, but they scale with Earth, not with Fire. So let's have a look at Fire. Yeah, this is such an easy uh, nation to analyze. Okay, so we got the Liquid Flames of Rocks, which we could cast. Armor Piercing, but would be affected by fire resistance. 24 damage, area of effect 1, so hits 1 tile, low precision. And then you get area of effect 6, splash effect. Adds lingering heat where where it hits 15 armor negating damage. Like with all of these evocation spells, and same thing with the incinerate spell and alteration, the thinking is what is the enemy's fire resistance? And depending on the fire resistance, different spells become possible. Like Fire Cloud. It's an amazing spell, but it does 6 damage. So if there's any kind of fire resistance, then the fire resistance scales hugely. At the far end, there's nice things like Firestorm. Again, 6 armor piercing fire damage. Flamestorm, 15 armor piercing. Like, it's just, what is the damage? The only thing that really can't be resisted is Pillar of Fire. Like, I start putting this on the field, yeah, this is not going to get resisted. Large area heat shock, fire damage, fire fatigue damage. Liquid flames of rocks. This is just damage, so yeah, it all depends on the enemy's fire resistance. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Enchantment. Enchantment does have something that I'm looking at closely. It's flaming arrows. I don't see this in my cap circle right now, but I want archers. Maybe I take jaguar type slingers. Um, Archers are a thing that could be quite useful for us, mostly because potentially the enemy won't expect it, and most people don't play with archers that much. But flaming arrows could make them useful. Adds 8 fire damage, so again, scales with enemy fire resistance. The nice thing about archers is that they're potentially targeting mages, and they could be one-shotting things with the flaming arrows. Not really anything else useful here. Flame Ward, like we don't need to add fire resistance to our units. If we go Earth, there's Strength of Giants. This is something we'll want to cast until we get Rush of Strength. Area of Effect 25. So 1 cast of this. This is going to require 2 Earth Gems per mage. So Earth 2 gets me Earth 3, and then, sorry, one Earth Path plus a gem gets me Earth Power, which is Earth 2, plus another gem gets Strength of Giants cast one time. Which makes my guys hit amazingly hard. There's also nature spells here, so like I'd love to be able to get off some of these spells. If I use Lizard Shamans, like having a relief up would be amazing. Mass regeneration would be friggin' monstrously huge on my troops because they're already so strong. So being able to deal with chip damage is really the last like key ingredient to be able to cast with battle magic. So yeah, mass regen is something to keep in mind. These other things like haste, yeah, relief would be nice. Very hard to cast though because it's such a high path. I would say I wouldn't worry about that. That's a Nature 5, that's a Thistle Mace and then a Communion plus an extra gem. So I could do Nature 4, Communion with 4 mages is 2 paths plus a Thistle Mace. Like, it's 5 nature mages with thistle mace and gems to get relief up. But it is possible. I have to worry about killing my own units doing that. Um, yeah, and thaumaturgy is something I would consider. Raging Hearts is a great remote attack spell. Um, Usually Fire 4 is pretty prohibitive, but it's something we can do. Um, and it's only level 5, so that's something to think about. The heal spell I'm not going to worry about because I took half dead. There's no need for me to remove afflictions. Purgatory, not really. Yeah, I'm not really going to do that. Evocation. Where is my gem gen? It's under enchantment, right? Yeah. Enchantment 6, Eternal Pyre. There is no one who's going to compete with me for this in this game. I would have to make the boosters to climb up there, which kind of sucks for me because I didn't take it natively. Yeah, but okay, Purgatory, sure. Could be a thing. There is Saromacia in the game. I could be facing skeletons, but I don't think I will be. Hydrophobia is cool for killing guys. I'm never gonna have the stuff for. I'm never gonna get to this point, so I'm not gonna cast it. But its MR negates, um, like rabbit, makes them stupid. I think will attack anything nearby, even friends. Like that's cool against thugs. Let's see. There's Earth for Iron Will potentially. It's useful, very useful on the mages. And yeah, nature, not really something I'm going to cast on the spell. When I'm looking at when would I have nature in a battle, right? Like if I'm bringing 5 like recruited nature mages, what am I using that to cast? Like I'm not going to cast Growing Fury because my guys already go Berserk. None of these other spells are really going to help me. There's a potential, like, I could be looking at death, like low level death. Oh no, I can't. Yeah, just, so I guess, so that's probably a lot of talking, and I can't imagine anyone's going to make it to this point in the YouTube video. But because EA Abysia really doesn't have too many paths, it limits what I do. Um, and yeah, like it's fire, it's earth. I'm gonna find some nature mages because nature mages are the easiest thing to find. Maybe I'll find some crystal Amazons, get fog warriors out. That would be nice. Maybe I can climb blood a little easier, but like looking at my cap circle, I don't see that being possible. Um, I think that's it. I don't really have too much more to add. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be really hard. Um, I've heard of some of these players. A lot of them I've played with before, but a lot of them I've only heard of, and I've only heard amazing things about them too. So it should be a pretty good group. Um, the condition for people to get into this game is they had to place in the top 3 in their qualifying matches. So we have a total of 12 players from the 4 qualifying match games. So it's not as big as Lucid's tournament, which I played in Lucid's tournament just now and got eliminated on turn 11. So that checks my ego right there. So maybe I'll perform a little better in this game, and maybe my game plan and early read of this nation is going to play itself out, and I'm a Dominions 5 genius. Thanks for watching, guys.